Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel, and as you can see on the screen right now, we're going to be taking a closer look at the new G.I. Joe Classified Series Kim, Jinx, Arashikage. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know, so that if you're thinking about picking up Jinx for yourself, you can make a good solid decision as to whether this figure is worthy of your cash or not. So I'll talk you through the packaging and the peg presents and the unboxing experience, then move on to the figure, talk about the aesthetic qualities and the visual experience that I've had playing with her over the last couple of days, then have a bit of a chat about the articulation and the posing experience, and then give you a rundown of the accessories to describe how much added value they bring. And by the end of the video, you should have a good, thorough overview to know whether Jinx is a figure you want in your collection or not. So let's not dilly-dally around, let's get into it, and let's go back in time. We'll take a look at the packaging when Jinx first arrived at MoDXtra Games and Collectibles Towers. All right, let's do this. Okay then, folks, well, here is Jinx in packaging. She arrived on my doorstep a little while ago here at MoDXtra Games and Collectibles Towers. Quick note for the regulars around these parts. You may have seen my post earlier today, or well, it would have been a few days ago now as you watch this review, but my overhead bracket is busted, so I can't do top-down views. So I'm foregoing the top-down unboxing, at least until I've repaired it or replaced it, or figured something else out. But I thought I'd still take a moment to take a look at the packaging, because of course this is the new G.I. Joe Classified Series packaging we've got here, with this this kind of black motif with the grey-blue little pattern within it, G.I. Joe Classified on the front, and then of course the windowed box to make the main shelf presence selling point the peak at the figure, and you can see Jinx in there with all her goodies around and about. Round on the back here, we can see that Jinx is number 124. Really pleased to see that they've kept up this this sort of digital render artwork thing. This here looks like it's my light reflecting really heavily on the box, but it's not, I promise you. It's actually the light effect shining through. And I've got an Easter egg video on the way soon, if you'd like to get an explanation as to what that scene setup is all about. But she's there in a dojo, and then we've got a couple of breakout windows highlighting some key features, like the removable blindfold and the tattoo paint applications. This is my import sticker, because I bought it from a UK retailer that imports G.I. Joe Classified. Big shout out to Kapow Toys. Legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom, and of course, the data card, which is also on the side here with the random QR code. So let's zoom in on that. Let's learn more about Jinx together then, folks. I'll share my wealth of knowledge of G.I. Joe lore with you. So let's take a look. The first one here on the data card is a little pokey stick and a key. This is because Jinx had, a little bit of an ill-behaved past, to be honest. She was a youth offender. She was a burglar. She robbed houses. It was a very dark time. And this data card entry here reflects her ability to be able to pick locks. But she got caught. She got caught and got reprimanded, did her time, and now she's been let back into society as a contributing ninja, Then we got this little knife here. This is actually part of the overall story here, actually, because after her time as a youth offender in jail, she learned how to be a qualified trained sushi chef, which is where she then went on to work for a Japanese restaurant, and where she met a variety of ninja trainers to lead her in her G.I. Joe direction. Then we got the little basketball net here. This was just what she used to do to pass the time while incarcerated. And then at the bottom here, we got like this little kind of flowery, leafy thing with a bit of a paint smoosh on it, because that was another thing she used to do in her youth offender prison days. She used to paint to pass the time, which is a hugely inoffensive pastime to allow felons to get up to while incarcerated. Oh God, that one's not my best. That one, folks. I'm running out of improvisational ideas for these. And on the other side of the box here, folks, we've got the larger artwork there. I really love that kind of purpley pink behind there. I've got a shirt like that. Purple's one of my favourite colours, but it's an autumn colour, ladies and gents. Don't wear it in May. Right then, I'm going to go crack this open off screen now, get the figure and all the bits and bobs out of the packaging, and get some good old quality man-child playtime in, do some poses, get her on the shelf with some other G.I. Joes, just generally get a feel for the figure, get good and hands-on, so I can come back and offer you some quality review thoughts. So stick around, because Future Chris is going to be back in 3, 2, 1... All right then, folks, Future Chris here now then, back to give you some review thoughts. I'm going to get started talking about the aesthetic qualities, talking about the visual experience with Jinx. Had it for a couple of days now. Got some good hands-on man-child playtime in, and boy, have I got some thoughts to share with you. But I'm going to get started, going to kick things off with a full figure view, because I think one of the first things that strikes me about the visual experience of Jinx is that she's a classic example of a G.I. Joe classified series modern reinterpretation of a G.I. Joe character. We can see the vestigial nostalgic elements, the inspiration that they've drawn from the vintage look of Jinx, but they've put their own stamp on it and made some changes to bring it into the modern day, which is a whole other thing. I've got another video coming down the pipeline talking about, is G.I. Joe classified now nostalgic, or is it reinterpretation? But what's the point of the retro line if you've got mainline figures coming out that are looking retro, but then some come out and they're not retro? It's a whole other thing. Keep an eye out for that video. So you've got the kind of classic visual identity elements, like the striking red ninja uniform there. You've got the short black hair, which is a part of her visual identity that they sort of lean into very heavily with that 80s do in the movie. So the colour scheme, the kind of core of the figure is in line with the vintage look, but they've obviously got rid of the sleeves, kind of modernised things, and then just the way the 6-inch lines now give it more texture, more depth is there. So that's what strikes me, is that you've got the red uniform there, key part of the visual identity, but they've changed things up a little bit. Bringing Jinx a bit nearer to the camera, we can see some of the finer details there. I'll start with the head sculpt. Good solid G.I. Joe classified series head sculpt, well sculpted facial features, well applied paint applications. It's unique, as they do with all their figures. Everything about it is, the cheeks, the nose, the facial shape, etc., is there. They've also acknowledged her Japanese-American history, her Japanese-American descent in there. You can see that in the facial features as well, which is wonderful. The paint applications are good on the lips, the eyes, and the eyebrows. Although one thing I have noticed, I was playing around taking some photos last night, and the eyes appear to have a little bit of a McFarlane-style side eye looking across to the right there. I don't know if that's just my version of the figure or whether that's as standard, but it was just something I observed. She wasn't looking in the right direction when I was taking the photo. Hair sculpt is well sculpted, looks suitably wavy and sculpted and dishevelled, although it is a little bit shiny. You can see there on the top, it looks shinier under my lights, but yeah, it's a bit shiny. But otherwise, the sculpt is solid, and it definitely doesn't look like a like a Lego piece of hair slapped on the top of her head. And one little minor kind of QC piece, I don't know if you noticed it, I've got a little paint application smoosh just there to the left of her eyebrow. Moving further down into the figure, lots of other fine detail elements to appreciate. You can see all the kind of textural fabric details. So there's creases and folds there. You can see in the belt, look at the sculpting on that. And then in the ninja uniform, we've got the wrist straps here that are all individually, well, I say individually, but sculpted in to look like wrist straps. Then there's some nice colour contrast as well with the black on top of the red, but then with the little burgundy trimming pieces. You can see on the side of the figure, for example, here, there's this little burgundy stripe there, just again to break it up and give it some depth and character. And that sculpting detail continues all the way down into the legs, using, again, the black to break it up a little bit, give it a bit of symmetry, to make it easy on the eye. Now, there's not a huge amount, but there are some little paint application fine detail pieces, again, to give the character a bit of depth. So you've got the necklace there with the little yellow stone or gold pendant, maybe, on the front there. Then the paint application of the dragon symbol on the left chest piece of her uniform. And then the kind of big standout is the big tattoo up her right arm, which looks really wonderful. Got that kind of, it looks like ocean waves with blossoms, pink flowers floating around on it, but very eye-catching, and another little splash of colour just to bring it to life. And of course make Jinx look less generic, less pedestrian in nature. And besides that, you know, I haven't got a great deal else to say. Jinx is a great example of a character that they've found beauty in simplicity. They're not overcomplicating things has helped the visual experience, you know. And there's enough there for a bit of storytelling, a bit of narrative, a bit of personality within the character too. They've put a few personal touches in, like the tattoo, just enough, but they've been, well, I was about to say subtle with it, but it is a whole arm sleeve. But you get what I mean. They've not overdone things. They've just made sure that it's well sculpted and found the beauty in the simplicity. And because of these reasons, the visual experience, the aesthetic qualities are getting a thumbs up from me. All right, well, there's the aesthetic. Let's now take a minute to have a look at the articulation, shall we? And folks, I'm just going to put it out here up top of this section. It's the standard G.I. Joe Classified Series articulation on the female buck. So if you had one in hand and you're familiar with it, there's very little in the way of quirks here. So please feel free to skip ahead to have a look at the accessories overview. But for those of you who are interested, or this may be the first G.I. Joe Classified Series figure you've considered, let me talk you through it. So starting at the neck here, we've got a ball at the bottom of the neck, ball at the top of the neck. It's got pretty good up, but her down's not great. About there, but you've got the full Exorcist 360 and a completely unencumbered range of movement because there's no like uniform or anything around here obstructing it. So yeah, you can do a bit of kind of wobbly, tilty and stuff. All good. Then moving down into the main body, we've got a butterfly joint at the shoulder there, giving you a bit of shuffle back and forward. The butterfly joint visually is particularly nice. I meant to mention this before. See how they've sculpted the butterfly joint piece in to be a part of the uniform there, part of her clothing. That's a really nice touch. Although I do wonder if that has obstructed the range of movement a little bit. Peg and hinge, so you can get all the way round, full 360. Obviously angling it a little bit to get around this pointy bit, and then hinge out for the T. Swivel point there at the bicep and tricep. Pinless double elbow that will get you up to there. And then pegged in hands, which will give you the full 360 swivel all the way around. And these ones out the packet with the grippy hands have got hinges up and down. Then into the torso, you've got two main points of articulation there. You've got this chest cut here, which gives you, it's on a ball, so lots of swivel and movement there. The crunch isn't fantastic on it, but for a ninja character, you can get her into some nice combat-y style poses with that. And then the waist here, which is obviously obscured by this little kind of hanging down piece that they've sculpted over the top there, which has got some further swivel at that point there. Getting down into the legs, and before I go through the joints, I want to pause for a moment and say that for the third G.I. Joe Classified Series figure in a row that I've reviewed on this channel, I have had dodgy leg joints, particularly the knees. And it's in the same spot, which is the top knee joint. I applied some heat to it, good hairdryer blast. A good hairdryer blast. Seemed to have sorted it out, but it was very, very crunchy out the packet. Incredibly stiff to the point where I think it was the right one here. Wouldn't move at all. Wouldn't move at all. And as I was trying to move it, this joint here, the bootcut joint, was pulling away. Thankfully, after heating it up and working the joint a little bit, it's better now. But as I've said many times before, I really shouldn't have to do that out the packet. You know what I mean? But anyway. So in the groin here, standard G.I. Joe Classified Series drop-down joint, giving you a decent forward. Get out on the full Russian ballet splits, which is a good range of motion you want for a ninja character. But the back, as always, is a bit obstructed by the curve of the arse cheek. Got swivel there at the top of the thigh. Pinless double knee that'll now get me to there. You've got a boot cut here at the top of this section. And then the standard hinge and rocker in the ankles. So it's a tentative thumbs up on articulation for Jinx. Obviously, I've had a QC issue there with the legs, but your experience may differ. That may just be mine, but I do like the female articulation. The book is really great for G.I. Joe Classified Series. I did have just one final note with regards to posability and articulation. The feet are a bit slim and narrow, and that affects her ability to stand well sometimes. I don't know what it is. I just seem to have an awful lot of trouble with the female figures. When I think back to the ones I've had recently, like Scarlet, Retro Scarlet, and Helix, they just seem to wobble around on their feet. It's like the base of their feet isn't flat or something, or they're a bit too narrow. But I fully acknowledge that may well be a me problem and not not a problem with the figure. I might just have some weird deficit with kind of getting the ankle rocker just right to suit my purposes. I don't know. Maybe something I'll need to work on there. But yeah, a tentative thumbs up. Everything is fine. My one, though, had the QC issues. All right, well, there you go. There's Articulation. Let's now take a look at the accessories, shall we? And the first item in the accessories list that I want to talk about is the head swap here. We've got a covered ninja mask head swap available for Jinx. Big supporter of head swaps and hand swaps in with the figures, particularly with G.I. Joe Classified, and Jinx has got both, in fact, a head swap and some hand swaps. I'll take a look at the hands for you in a minute. But I love this. This is great. You know, lots of character and personality being communicated through just this very limited amount of real estate there, facial real estate, if you will, with the eyes. And the paint applications are equally as well applied as they are on the unmasked head. There's some nice sort of shaping in the sculpt of it, so you can see sort of like the way the fabric is being pulled tight there, and you can see the nose and the chin, like the front of a mouth through it too. Again, just those kind of textural details that give the figure some depth. And then we got the little knot and little dangly tie bit at the back here, which has been sculpted into a nice drapey shape. You can see there how it's kind of been pulled tight there and then knotted in. My only criticism really would be that this is that kind of soft, bouncy rubber, which is fine, but it's not very malleable to move around. I wanted to kind of have it kind of flicking up, but I couldn't do it, you know. So when you compare that to, say, like the swappable ponytails on Scarlet, for example, but it's fine. The colour match isn't great on that either, but those are minor niggles. I love the sculpting and the swoopy shape of it. Mentioned the hand swaps. Jinx has got two closed fist hand swaps there. Both of these have got up and down hinges on them as well, just like the grippy hands. Well sculpted, well proportioned. Got the continuity there with the straps carrying on down towards the palms of the hands. And of course, an excellent choice of accessory to add some value to a figure that you're going to expect to be posing, throwing some punches Pythona's way when that character finally comes. Then we have Jinx's sword. Would that be a katana for a ninja there? So it's in a sheath here. I'll take that out and start with the sheath. So you can see the sheath has got some nice sculpted detail in there. There's also a peg on it, so you can pop it in a peg hole at the back. I'll show you that in a sec. Otherwise, it's just a single piece of black molded plastic. It's very wibbly wobbly. You know what I mean? Look at that. And it came out the packaging like literally almost L-shaped, but that's fine. It's not too much of a problem compared to like with weapons and things. Then you got the sword. It's in a grey plastic up the blade, and then you got the brown handle along the bottom here. Sculpted details in there. You can see some sculpted details in the blade there, and of course in the handle. Bit disappointed that this is kind of grey and not a metallic colour. I much prefer it when the blades have got that metallic look across them, but they've obviously chosen for some reason, probably for budget reasons, to make that a single piece of kind of plasticky grey. It has got a bit of a metallic sheen to it. I think the metallic sheen's standing out a lot more under the lights where I'm filming than it does normally, but there is a bit of a metallic sheen to it, but yeah, it looks a bit cheap and plasticky, you know. This is very bendy as well. But, you know, boil a bit of water, hold it over the kettle, and it soon finds its way back to nearly straight. And then I mentioned the peg. It just pegs in nicely across her back there, and so that she can carry her sword. Next up in the weapon selection is Jinx's double-ended spear thing. I believe, I looked this up when the digital render came out, it's called a Naginata, but I'm more than happy for more knowledgeable folks on weapons to roll their eyes at that statement and rush to the comments and correct me. I'm open and willing to learn, folks, so put me in my place if I've got that wrong. But you've got the two bladed ends here. They're in that shiny metallic plastic. It's not paint applied, it's shiny metallic. It looks better than it does on the sword, actually, here. With these, then you've got these kind of brown strappy sections, which I assume are for her hands, actually, which I've obviously not placed the hands over them so you can see them, and then a single black rod in the middle. And this is, again, a nice, simple, straightforward piece of ninja-style weaponry for a loadout. And then finally, we've got the blindfold here that goes over well, you could put it on the masked head, I suppose, but I've put it on the maskless head. This is, of course, a little bit of G.I. Joe Jinx lore there, trained by the blind master. That's her fighting style, is blind ninjutsu. There's obviously the famous scene from the G.I. Joe, the movie, where she beats the crap out of Beachhead by blindfolding herself and removing her visual senses. And this fits on the head perfectly fine. No issues, not a faff or a fiddle to get that looking nice and in place. Well sculpted, got contour details in there. You can see you got the little knotted drape bits at the back. You can see it swooshing down there, flapping around in the wind, which is lovely. And it's that soft rubbery plastic, so it's very easy to manipulate onto the head where you want it to go. So it's an interesting accessory selection, really, because there's nothing super sexy or exciting about that, but it's just a good, solid loadout that lets you tell good stories with your figure. And for that reason, I'm giving it a thumbs up. It's not jazzy. It's, you know what I mean? It's not anything over and above the Call of Duty. It's just like, right, ninja, needs a ninja head, needs a sword, needs some ninja weaponry, hand swap, absolutely, because she's going to be punching people. Get the blindfold on for the little, character lore piece, and done. Bish, bash, bosh. And actually, I'm quite happy with that. This is one of those instances where just a good, solid, functional set of accessories suits my needs. Would I have liked a little bit more? Yes, of course. I always want more. When you get hands and head swaps, that starts to reduce some of the wider selection of stuff. But as we've seen with some figures lately, I'm at the point now where I don't need more shit to put in my bits box. You know what I mean? I want stuff that I can use all the time with my figure. And Jinx has got that in spades. So yeah, massive thumbs up. Big recommendation on the accessories. All right, folks, well, here's Jinx going around on the turntable so you can get a nice full 360 view of the character. I've kind of popped her on an old neck of foot stand that I had hanging around, and just because I wanted to have a leg in the air, I've got this very strong kind of visual picture of her in my mind, scooping up a weighted staff off the floor in a dojo and beating the shit out of Beachhead in G.I. Joe the movie. And I was kind of going for something like that. This is not particularly well finessed. I had it looking really great in this pose last night, and then I put her back into sort of standard pose to film her, and I haven't quite got it back the way it was, but that's fine. I'll fiddle around with it, but you get the idea nonetheless. And final thoughts time. Would I recommend Jinx? Yes, I absolutely would. She's had 3 thumbs up from my my triple A's. Aesthetic, love it. Accessories, good selection, and the articulation, yeah, probably one of the best there is for female books out there. So it's all gravy, baby. Loving Jinx, and I've had a lot of fun with her over the last couple of days. There's nothing really special about her, but she's kind of straightforward in a good way. She's solid, rock solid. I would liken it to, when you come across a really great classic rock tune. There might be some folks out there like me, classic rock fans, where you listen to it and you think, well, there's nothing there I haven't heard before. It's bluesy riffs and rocky riffs, and it's 2 guys, a set of drums and a bass and a singer. But something about the composition and the simplicity and the way it melds together just gives it that lift, gives it some rise. And that's what Jinx is all about. She's just a good, solid slab of female G.I. Joe classified. They're not trying to over-engineer it. It's like, boom, there you go. She's a ninja. She's got loads of ninja weaponry shit. She moves good. She looks good. She kicks ass. And what more do you want? So yeah, definitely a thumbs up. I'm actually kind of really into Jinx on the grounds of the simplicity, that it's not over the top, it's not too much, it's not overcrowded. You know what I mean? So there we go. All right, well, of course, you're invited to head down to the comments below and offer your thoughts and opinions, or if you've got any questions. But hopefully, I've given you enough information today that if you got one on pre-order, you'll keep the pre-order or cancel the pre-order, and you'll know whether this is the figure for you or not, or if you happen across her on a shelf at your local store, whether you're going to pick her up, whether she's worth your money. Of course, if you have found this useful, please do take a moment to hit the thumbs up, like, and head down, offer a comment of your own. Just really helps amplify the message, give me a bit of a signal boost out there to other people who might enjoy the channel. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great day, I hope you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you around these parts again sometime soon for another video or two. All right, so take it easy, folks, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye now.